Hello, 6th grade. How you guys doing? I'm hoping this video works out to be a little bit better than the past. I'm trying to use an iPad, but we're going to see how this goes. And today we're going to be starting journal number 27. What do you know about eating disorders? Do you know any signs or symptoms of someone dealing with them? And we're wrapping up these next few weeks our eating and our nutrition lessons. But as we do so, I would have then asked you in class, what eating disorders do you guys know about? And I would have called on you. Yep, you, right there. Good job. And maybe you said anorexia nervosa. Awesome. I would ask you what you know about it, but I'm going to go over that in a minute. And then somebody else might raise their hand and say, ooh, I know binge eating. Good job. Very good. And then the next person is going to say, oh, I've heard of bulimia. Very good. That's excellent. That's 3 of the 4. And the last one starts with the letter O. And obesity. Good. There's no number 5, but that's okay. And I would have said, great. And then we would have worked our way to giving you a sheet. And I must have left the sheet in school. I do not have it, so I gave you a consolidated sheet with a couple examples. And now, let's go over these few different eating disorders. And when it comes to eating disorders, I want you to understand that there is no right or wrong age that this can happen to. It can happen to anybody, but it usually does occur with people as they're going through adolescence, maybe a few people in college. But as we go forward, I'm going to tell you that there's no right or wrong age limit, but it's usually when people are still trying to figure out where they are in life, okay? And a lot of times it happens with people who have low self-esteem. They feel like they don't belong. So it's one of those things where you want to try and be aware, but you might see it more at your age bracket for a few people. Now, the first one is going to be anorexia nervosa, and this is where there are people out there who, exactly like this picture shows you, they usually look very thin, and in their eyes, they have a fear of gaining weight. They feel fat, usually, like I said, when they are thin. And what they end up doing is they get to a point where they're very concerned about putting on any weight. And it can lead to them losing sometimes up to anywhere from 25% of their original body weight. It's almost like they look very skeleton-like because they've lost so much of their normal weight, okay? And this can be something where sometimes the female or male might choose not to eat a lot of food, or what they might do is cut up their food when they're around their family and friends into little tiny pieces, but they'll only eat a couple pieces here and a couple pieces there. They are usually nervous about getting on a scale because almost any number is a concerning number to them. But with them, this is usually where they think they're overweight in some way, but they're usually somewhat thin, okay? And then they might also exercise a lot as well. The next one is bulimia nervosa. A lot of the same feelings that fit with anorexia end up going with bulimia. The fear of gaining weight. They might think that they look too big when they really probably aren't. But here's where the massive change occurs. A lot of times, people who are dealing with this now choose to take a different route to hide this from their family and friends. They might now choose to eat in front of their family and friends, but then what they'll do is they will excuse themselves to the bathroom at a later point, and they will either throw up, puke it out, or poop it out. Maybe they'll take some type of laxative pill. Okay, it's very similar feelings, but the big difference is here these individuals are choosing to throw it up or poop it out. So their thought process a lot of times is, if I also eat the foods, I'll get the nutrients. But that's not really how your body works. It has to process and go through the whole entire system. And also them throwing up causes lots of problems with the acid coming up through the mouth. Our next one is something we all like to do once in a while, and that's called binge eating disorder. Okay, this is where sometimes people go on a eating spree where they just keep choosing to eat and eat and eat. Now, for some of you, you're going through puberty. You're not really going through puberty yet because, well, you are going through puberty, but the 7th grade class is doing the puberty lessons. But your bodies are changing tremendously. So there's no right or wrong way to describe this, but your metabolisms are kind of still growing as well. But you also know that if you were to sit for days on end, stuck in a home, eating a lot, oops, am I talking about anyone? I hope not. Because this could be deemed as binge eating, where you just keep eating and eating and eating. And if you do continue to eat, there is going to be that opportunity for weight gain to occur. Okay? So you have to be careful in binge eating and eating too much, because this usually, and this is where we get to our 4th one, congratulations, United States of America. We are one of the largest countries out there. Look at that. And I don't remember what the little facts are, and I can't really see it here. But yeah, we are in the top 10 of the largest countries in the world, because apparently we as Americans like to keep eating and eating and eating. All right? This is where an individual puts on a lot more weight onto their body because they keep eating and they're probably not exercising. And a lot of times they eat foods that are also not as healthy. That's why I wanted you to do the looking at the labels last week. So this is where you start seeing people eating fatty foods. Unfortunately, they might start adding on weight. And here's the big problem with this. As you can see, here's the person's skeleton. When an individual keeps eating and eating, the skeleton's body has a very difficult time maintaining all that weight. That's a lot for that skeleton frame to deal with, especially as you can see on this individual. And a lot of times, unfortunately, when there are individuals who are extremely overweight, not all the time, but a good portion of them, unfortunately, live a few years less. Like our average age usually is between 75 and 80, but for an extremely obese individual, their body's organs and their skeleton system has a hard time keeping up with all that excess weight. Okay, there's another little slide about obesity. Now there's something out there called the body mass index. And what this is this is a way to let you know where your body and where you should be when it comes to your height and your weight. Usually we do this in class. If you want, you can do this. This is completely individualized. And as you do this, please understand that on the next 2 pages, I'm going to give you what some sheets have actually said, some scales have said, but I am not a doctor. I'm not telling you where you belong or where you should be. Your pediatrician, your doctors would know exactly where you should be at your point in your life. But here's how this goes. You multiply your weight in pounds by 703. I don't know how much you weigh. And then twice divide that result by your height in inches. Your height in inches is something you would have to figure out. Get out the tape measure. I put an example here. If you're 5 feet tall, you're 60 inches. So work off of that. If you're 5'3", you're 63 inches. If you're 4'9", you go down. You're 57 inches. Okay? And then here's the equation. You would take those numbers, your weight, times it by 703. You'll end up with probably a 5-6 digit number. And then that number, you're going to divide by your height 2 times. All right, you should end up with a number between 50 and 40. Now, once you get that number between 15 and 40, here are the results. Once again, keeping in mind your bodies are ever so changing. You're in a wonderful state of adolescence. And next year, your numbers can be completely different. 3 years will be even different again. But here's what it says. And do not overly get concerned, because we all know in class there's that little tiny student in the corner. And then there's a little tiny student over there, but you're also only 11, 12. Congratulations. Okay, but here's the scale. But to keep this even a little bit in line with what I'm talking about, it says right there, severely overweight. And I think it says I think I'm moderately overweight when I did the numbers myself. I think I was like 28.5 or something. So it calls me moderately overweight. So maybe you're in my category. But then I also found a scale that's a little bit different. The numbers skew a little bit, and now all of a sudden they just plain out call me overweight. So understand, you got to take this with a grain of salt. Your doctor knows where you should be. Let's try and spin this around. So here we are. I wanted to tell you that this week you don't have a homework assignment per se. I gave you, I believe, 5 examples of the eating disorders. You can do that on your own. It's completely up to you. It just kind of gives you an idea what these people sound like. I didn't want to do all these examples. This is already about a 12-minute video right now. And this week, though, I do want your journals. We have journals numbers 22 through 26 are due. Please do your best. If you can, type them all on one Google Doc, submit it, then click done. You're finished with your journals. With your projects, keep working on those as well. Your journals you should have been working on as always. So just click those, send all 5 of them in. Do not send in just 26. It's 22 through 26, just like we did at the beginning of this year. Please be safe. I know the weather's getting nice. Do your best not to go out and start hanging out with all these other people. Okay, let's make sure we keep these groups and gatherings still down to the minimum. And I hope you guys have an absolutely amazing week. Bye-bye.